Hi everyone, this is an introduction to the Realcovery model, and one of the things that it does, which is to function as a foundation, a container and a connector. Imagine you've got a blank piece of paper that you can shape into a menu, a map, an instruction book, a canvas, a photograph, depending on what information you give it to hold or what qualities you give it to have. So what follows is an overview of that kind of thing. This is the basic shape of the Realcovery model. It can be used vertically and horizontally. It can be stretched out and expanded. It can have things added to it. It can be layered onto itself. It can be placed side by side. It can be repeated. It can be reshaped. The shape of the Realcovery model itself comes from the human body, and the model then takes the biological processes of the human body and makes them into visualized patterns that can be used in practical ways. An example is the pattern of breathing, which can be distilled into expand, pause, refine, pause, expand, pause, refine, pause. Something that can be used to map all sorts of things in life. The human body is a container and contents, so that is also a way that the Realcovery model works. And the human body contains 3 brains, the head, the heart and the gut. So a very basic pattern that repeats within the Realcovery model is a pattern of 3 related to cognitive processing, emotional processing and physical experience. Using the biological processes as practical patterns for people means that things can feel very relatable, and also very simple check-in things can be done using creative activity, such as checking in with your head, your heart and your gut, using colour, using marks, using things like collage or sculpture or writing poetry or all sorts of stuff like that. So here's some more about the Realcovery model. It pulls modes, models and theories together, contains them and makes them usable in practical ways. This image shows the drama triangle by Stephen Cartman and the empowerment dynamic by David Emerald Warmendorf. Both are models of dynamics in relationships. These are their simplified directions, and then this is how they would fit into the Realcovery model, which then visualizes those directions and dynamics and enables reflective conversation to happen. This is the polyvagal theory by Stephen Porges. This is how it maps to the Realcovery model. This is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which fits inside the Realcovery model like this, then like this, also like this, and like this, and so on, into triangle 3 and beyond. In the Realcovery model, this can then enable people to visualise the life they had, their steps of recovery, and then who they will go on to be. I use the phrase and beyond because the Realcovery model can be used to story a moment in a life and also a lifetime. Tip it on its side horizontally and it can become a timeline. It can become a timeline for projects, it can become a timeline for processes, and it can become a timeline for humans. Therapy modes can be visualised within the framework and foundation of the Realcovery model. This example is transactional analysis with the parent, adult, child parts. Other modes that work well on this are things like CBT, with its parts defined as thoughts, feelings and behaviour. Useful for those who may be wary of therapy and not understand how it's relevant to them. The Realcovery model can pull together tools that are used for structural support and also for delivery. The example shown is the breath pattern created by the Art of Hosting community. It is used as an event map. the introduction of the information, the body of the event, and then the conclusion of the event. And this is how it can be contained within the Realcovery model. So to summarise, when used like this, the Realcovery model becomes one place to put all the tools you need for your specific flavour of transformation, development, personal understanding, delivery of something, whatever scale that is, whether it's at an individual level or whether it's at an organisational or cultural level. It attends to both the things that need to be done and to the being of the people who are using it. So it looks at both what you want to do and how you are. It connects the two in relationship. It helps you see that relationship because you can see something. It helps you have reflective conversation about things and about what the real is. It can be personalised so that service users can learn how to use it, which would promote independence. It can be personalised to support session delivery. It can be personalised to map project planning. It can be personalised to support staff supervision sessions, reflective conversation about how people are. It can be personalised to build community. It can be personalised to see the bigger picture of the culture in the organisation. It can do so many things. I think it can be personalised infinitely. So if this framework and these shapes are the foundation underpinning all the different personalizations that are possible with it, it has an incredible effect. Because what it can do is it can create a standardized Realcovery language. People speak in terms of the foundational framework, which is very connecting because it's underneath everything, instead of from the place of difference of detail. It vastly improves communication and understanding. It helps people share at a place where they are the same instead of from the place where they are different. And that really can build community. The Realcovery model doesn't have a bias of approach. So, whereas many places might just work in a hierarchical, top-down way, and other spaces might only work in a bottom-up way, the Realcovery model pulls in whatever direction of approach is needed at the time, what the best fit is, so it can use both top-down and bottom-up methods. It challenges one-way only approaches, and it brings back balance and the perspective of both top-down and bottom-up positions, and also it brings back both sides and joins them back up in conversation. It fits to us and what we need. We don't have to fit to it. So this changes the conversation. Traditionally, with the roles that we sit in, you as service provider, me as service user, your question to me would be, tell us what you want to do and we will support you to do it, which is a way of working that still places us in hierarchical positions. However, with the Realcovery model approach, we have the chance to shift into a very different kind of dynamic, where instead of you asking me what do you want to do and how can we support you, the questions and things are more like, how are we as a collective? How do we want to work together? What does that then mean we need to shape for ourselves so that those things can happen? And then, how do we want to personalise this foundational framework to make it work for us? In that way, I can support you to know how to personalise this model and use these patterns to support anything that Touchstone wants to make happen. It also really minimizes them and us dynamics. It's not you supporting me or me supporting you. It's us working on this to shape it together. For example, I bring the foundation, you bring the detail, we put them together and ta-da! Nobody owns people patterns, the people patterns in our bodies. They are the birthright of every single human who walks on this earth. What we do own, though, is our personalisation of those which are unique to us. There's no limit to how many personalisations you can create. And so once Touchstone has a sense of how to use these patterns and personalise them, then the organisation would have a tool for life. A foundational one that could be used to create training in response to the needs of the organisation at the time, one that could be used to develop projects that respond to the needs of the community at the time and the shifting cultural picture, keeping everything relevant and future-proofing the organisation. I hope that overview was useful, and also that the video format makes it all a bit more accessible. It is a general overview, I'm aware of that, and I haven't gone into the specifics and details of how this would be used loads, but in many ways the actual specifics of use come from the personalization, which can't happen until we've chatted more about that, I guess. So anyway, thank you really so much for the opportunity to share more about this and for your interest in the model I've made, for giving me a space to be heard, and I look forward to chatting about it all more. Thank you.